Class 1 Chapter 9, Operational Marketing Planning in Hospitality and Tourism. Introduction. There can be confusion over the differences between strategic and operational planning. Operational planning is concerned with projecting current operational into the future, projections into both the long and short run, labeling short-range operational planning as tactical planning, manufacturing and marketing current products, deploying the current base of resources, the responsibility of functional managers, the modifications of business functions only. These characteristics suggest in the main that operational planning concerns itself with the short term, this in keeping with the distinctions made by others. Essentially, for many organizations, operational planning will be concerned for planning 12 months ahead and the production of the annual marketing plan. Typical contents of a marketing plan. Marketing plans usually include the following: a statement of basic assumptions with regard to long and short-term economic, technological, social and political developments, an analysis of external opportunities and threats by market and product, a review of past sales and profit performance of the company's major product by market, an analysis of the company's and competitors' strengths and weaknesses in facilities, products, finances, customer acceptance, distribution, personnel, pricing, advertising, sales promotion, etc. This analysis often includes assessments of indirect competition, a statement of long-term objectives, marketing, financial, growth, etc., and the strategies for achieving them, a statement of the objectives and strategies for the next year, with a detailed breakdown in units and revenue for each product, each market, each geographical area, and each unit of the company's marketing force. A program schedule which is carefully coordinated with the budget for the units involved and which shows the sequence of all marketing activities for each product in each market and geographical area so that public relations, advertising, product publicity, sales promotion, and field selling can be coordinated. Statements of objectives for each of the following years similar to the statement for the next year but less detailed. A summary of how the company intends to capitalize on its opportunities and correct its weaknesses, key priorities, etc. You will notice that the above list contains elements that are also included in the strategic planning process. This should be of little surprise. Strategic issues do affect operational plans, and a common fault is that operational plans tend to bear little relationship to strategic plans. It should be seen as good practice therefore to include relevant issues from the strategic planning process in the confirmation of the operational marketing plan. Objectives. By the end of this chapter you should be able to prepare an operational marketing plan that is in harmony with a longer-term strategic marketing plan. This will involve, inter alia, forecasting sales and setting operational objectives in line with good practice. Chapter 9, Operational Marketing Planning in Hospitality and Tourism. Forecasting. Forecasting is one of the main operational activities of the marketing function, and the purpose is to forecast what the organization's sales may be in the immediate future. The future in this context may be next week, next month, next quarter or next year. However, at all levels of planning, managers are often forecasting, hence some of the techniques that this section examines may be utilized at the strategic level, for instance in forecasting possible changes in the environment. The relationship between forecasting and planning is sometimes confused, not only in theory but also in practice. If forecasting is regarded as an objective prediction of what will probably happen and planning as a subjective desire to make something happen, then perhaps the distinction and relationship between forecasting and planning at both the strategic and operational levels. The need to forecast the environment is easily understood. However, the relationship between our plans, competitors' activities and market size is less so. Managing marketing information and measuring market demand does quite well to explain this complex relationship. Basically, it should be realized that combined industry expenditure on marketing activities may expand the market size. In forecasting terms, as managers are often trying to forecast market size, and their organization's share of it, they cannot just rely on extrapolation of the past growth, or decline, in a market, but must also account for what the industry's activities might do to the market, too. Market share. of course, is related to the relative attractiveness and promotion of our products, compared to the competition. Put simply, a manager may have to perform several iterations of the forecast, considering what will happen to market size and share if the organization puts into practice one set of mixed decisions and simultaneously how competitors will behave. Not understanding this perhaps led to the price wars in the UK tour operation market in the late 1980s, when in order to increase market share, prices were reduced by first one then another tour operator. It is questionable whether size expanded, market shares did not necessarily change. Eventually some operators were shaken out of the market. The current price war of mobile phone companies is also a good example. The importance of sales forecasting. Whilst companies are clearly concerned to make an accurate sales forecast for their own marketing purposes, it will lead to the marketing objectives they set themselves later. The sales forecast is also important to other areas of the business. For instance, it could be that a package operator will be buying airline seat and purchasing accommodation in hotels on the basis of it. It is also of importance for finance, as it is the basis for managing cash flow and predicting future profitability. It should not be assumed that forecasting is only required by large organizations. A small hotel, for example, should also try to forecast sales, if only to ensure correct staffing levels. These two examples should serve to illustrate the relative importance of forecasting, and consequently the time and resources that might be allocated to it. Issues in selecting and using forecasting methods. Timescales. As this lecture considers forecasting in general, it should be noted that the chosen method needs to be appropriate for the timescale being considered. For example, forecasting a precise sales figure in the short term might be best done with one method, whilst considering long-term environmental forecasts would probably require a different one. Turning points. Forecasting changes in growth also means that managers need to identify the points when change may become discontinuous. Events rarely continue into the future as a straight line. Considering the curve of the product life cycle, there are 3 points in it that can be identified as turning points, i.e. where sales turn from introduction to growth, where growth levels into maturity, and where maturity turns to decline. The forecasting therefore needs a method to identify these turning points when dramatic marketing actions may be required. Data requirements. Some of the more sophisticated forecasting methods, such as multiple regression, require that the organization has access to a lot of data, such as disposable income, price elasticity, industry advertising expenditure and even weather conditions. Others require no more than the mental ability of the forecasters. Clearly they ascertain whether the organization has access to the data required or can afford to purchase it. The cost-accuracy trade-off. Like many managerial activities, the accuracy of a forecast can be increased by committing more resources to it. The amount of resource to be committed, for example, management time, computers, computing software and data, should depend on the importance of the accuracy of the forecast to the organization. For instance, a tour operator who consistently overestimates sales and overpurchases accommodation may wish to invest more in forecasting than a small hotel owner who has to wait on tables because of an underestimate of restaurant occupancy which gave waiting staff the night off.